Come on in, Jake. Here we go. That's the time being 6:32. I'll call to order the Tuesday, May 22nd meeting of the Tilton Planning Board. Okay, the first thing would be the review of the May 8th minutes. Gary and I discussed it earlier. He still has a few things he'd like to see on the tape before we finalize the minutes. So we'll wait until next meeting and do up the minutes then. Prefer more accurate than quick. Okay, next is Planning Board Case 1802. It's a compliance hearing to verify the fulfillment of conditions from the 3/27/18 conditional approval to develop a 24-unit cluster subdivision at School Street and Country Meadow Drive in the Rural Agricultural District, R13. Would you like to speak on what you have done?
Yes. It would be better for Cameron to come up and sit at the table.
Sure. Then you get a microphone.
Yeah. Better than I do.
See down there, you're by yourself down there.
Okay, so again, my name is Kent Brown from Brown Engineering. I'm here representing Kevin LaCaste in his subdivision. At the last meeting that we attended on March 27th, the board issued a conditional approval for this subdivision and asked for a compliance hearing when we had the issues resolved. There were 9 issues, and I just would like to go over where we're at with those for the board, if that's all right. On page, the first one was satisfactory provisions for open space preservation shall be included in the homeowners association documents, and I believe you have a copy of that, those documents. On page 7 at the top of the page, we added a wording that says it is intended that except for the reserved rights of the declarant and to the extent reasonably practical, open spaces shall be left in a natural state and maintained in a state that protects and preserves the existing features and conserves forests, grasslands, and wetlands for the benefit of native plants, species, and wildlife.
Am I looking at the wrong? I think our page is different.
7 or 9?
So do you have section 2?
5.
Go to section.
5, page 7.
Okay, go to section 2. Actually, I'm sorry, section 4, the,
Property rights.
yes,
On page 6.
okay. That starts on my page 6 and then goes to 7. So it would be at the very end of that before section A. Did everybody find that?
Every owner shall?
Yes, every owner
Have
shall.
an easement or
It
easement.
says
Yes,
association.
so go past that.
Yeah.
Where's every owner shall, so then about 2/3.
That's the last sentence. 4.
Yeah,
on the
exactly,
bottom.
the last sentence of that,
Right.
or the next to the last sentence. So we believe that would address that condition. And do you want me to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, the homeowners association document shall be approved by the planning board prior to submission. For planning board approval, homeowners association documents shall be submitted to the land use office for consideration and review by town council. And that has been done, and I believe the town council, and you can check with Dari, but I believe he's completed his review of those association documents.
Yeah, you have 2 emails.
from Attorney Radigan, the one with the stapling, and I think some more recent, in which case, where he says all set, basically.
And then number 3, a performance guarantee shall be provided in an amount and form acceptable to the town of Tilton to serve as a financial surety for full and final completion of all street drainage, utility infrastructure improvements, and proper installation and maintenance of erosion and sediment control measures throughout the construction of all street drainage and utility infrastructure improvements. In reviewing that with the town engineer, he and the town attorney suggested preparing a development agreement which would cover that and other things as part of one agreement that goes with the approval, that would go to the selectmen for their approval. They'd actually sign it and Kevin would sign it. It'd be like a mutual agreement between the two, and that would end up covering that. And Dari, you were going to forward me the example you got, but I didn't get that today. Did you get something from Radigan?
I do have 3 emails from Attorney Radigan.
Okay.
I got them just recently.
Right, so
yeah.
Dari just got them today, so we're still in the process of putting that final agreement together, but ultimately it would go to the selectmen and get approved, and they would sign it on behalf of the town, and then Kevin would sign it. And that, included in that would be that surety agreement. Okay, and then number 4, the third-party review engineer shall confirm that all matters identified during his original review have been satisfactorily addressed. And we've submitted the final response to his comments on May 10th, and we have not got his final review, but part of that has to do with this development agreement, and part of it has to do with the final approvals from the state. So those things are all pending, but they're imminent, and we actually thought we would have that resolved for tonight when we scheduled this meeting, so we're that close to having that.
Copy of it, but I believe they looked at it on the computer and talked about sidewalks in it, didn't we? They talked about.
We don't have it at all, so we
Right,
can't
right.
stick to it.
Yeah, did I see it on the computer?
That could have been Catherine, that could have been the last one that he did. He already did one review, we responded to it, we haven't gotten
The engineer's most recent,
Oh, yeah. So he submitted 2 review letters to this point.
do we have the most recent one?
I didn't print it for tonight, but we can certainly get it.
Oh, when
Is
did
that-
you get it, sorry?
You submitted a reply to it.
Right, so you haven't gotten anything back from my
Right.
reply?
No.
Okay.
Well, right. So there was initial review letter way back when, your response, then a subsequent review letter, and your response.
Okay.
That's
So
all.
we haven't gotten anything since my last response?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I haven't gotten anything, so that would have been news to me.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to have a copy of the engineer's most recent.
Yeah.
I've got February 12th.
Right, and there should be one after May 10th, Catherine, and we haven't gotten
I
that.
looked at it on the computer.
What? I don't know. Sorry, maybe I didn't hear what you're looking for.
The engineer's most recent letter to us.
Okay.
Do we have a copy of it? Because he addresses these items.
But they haven't got their, they're still waiting on yet another one.
Well, I haven't seen the middle one.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Can you grab that up from me?
Yeah, sure. It was, yeah, you did look at it. It was in the
don't send
email.
me stuff you don't want me to see.
He's hiding review letters from you.
That man doesn't hide anything.
Do you have the final stormwater maintenance? We'll move on while we wait for that.
Yeah, and we submitted the stormwater maintenance plan in that May 10th submission, but here's a copy of it. Yeah, there's just,
No, we get it.
That's,
yes.
Oh,
that's behind him.
behind us.
Didn't I?
And then number 6, the stormwater maintenance logs and reports shall be submitted to the land use office, and Kevin agrees to do that as the project progresses. And then fire department approval of the project shall be obtained, which we did get that. It should be in your distribution.
I have a question about that. May I
Sure.
ask that now, dear?
Yes,
On the letter from, well, I guess there's a letter from Kevin that says each individual place will have their own because of the lack of water available.
Right.
Does that mean then that you don't have to submit a plan for the sprinklers?
Well, on a house-by-house basis, when we file for a building permit, I believe he's gonna want a sprinkler.
Okay, so that's
for
when it will
house by
happen
house.
as opposed to what was in this letter on the.
Right, because
on the
it,
22nd.
yeah, because it would have been either having a fire hydrant in the community, but because, you know, we're pulling from a well and it's not a public water system, he said as an alternative to the fire hydrant, we could put sprinkler systems in every house. And I think what he's referring to is during, the building permit process, before he signs off on the building permit, he wants to see the plans for the sprinklers. So that would be on a house-by-house basis.
All right, thank you.
And then number 9, roadside parking shall be prohibited. The sign prohibited roadside parking shall be placed at the entrance to the subdivision, and the homeowners association documents shall prohibit roadside parking. So in the, excuse me, in the association documents on my page
Yeah, do it by
13,
section since it's.
which would be section 6, land use.
Okay, it's page 10.
Section,
F, it's on page 12.
yeah, F, you're right.
No roadside parking should be permitted.
Yep.
So, what about stopping or standing? I mean, usually when you see a no
Oh,
parking
stopping
sign,
or
it
standing.
says, "Or stopping
I
or standing." So
I
it's
thought
like-
you said stumping and sanding, and I'm like, excuse me, okay.
At the end of the day, it's my accent.
Stopping
Because,
or
you know,
standing?
Sure, so I'm gonna run in and drop off something.
Oh, like
So I'm
double
just gonna-
parking kind of
I'm just
thing?
gonna stop here for a second, so that's like standing, that's what they call it.
Oh,
I'm not parking there for the day or an hour.
right.
In my opinion, it's not gonna hurt anybody, because I'm only gonna be there 10 minutes, but in fact, I ran in there, but being there an hour and a half, because I stopped for Katie.
Yeah, the
So
sign,
what I'm saying is, that's what I see, an official police sign doesn't just say no parking, it says we're stopping or standing. And I'm wondering if that's what that covers.
yeah, we didn't discuss that. The
Because we
sign
don't want any cars stopped on the side of the road, parked on the side of the road.
parked, we talked about, yeah.
Well,
So I put a sign in that says no roadside parking, which is a standard road sign.
because we reduced the width of this road
Right.
from our standards.
That's why we're doing this, yeah.
Right, so somebody may think they're not parking because they're just sitting
Idling?
there in their car,
Idling?
Car running.
Or idling.
but in fact they are. They're gonna impede emergency vehicles that need to come in.
I think it's kind of, I mean, if somebody's going to be sitting, I know what you're talking about though. I've seen the signs, but people will do it anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, if, you know, if this is going to be enforced, you have to be able to enforce it, I don't know from the police. So maybe the language for the sign should come from the police. That's what I think. I'm gonna do something, because if they look at it with, how can I'm gonna have to enforce this, what language do I want in the sign, so I can enforce any vehicle that stops, parks, or sits on the side of the road.
So
Well-
with that ordinance, though, I mean, not ordinance, but whatever they say, the police have to enforce that? Even if it
The police aren't gonna
doesn't,
enforce this private road.
okay, so why,
I've just found that the more complicated you make a sign, the less people pay attention to it.
So then when you
Yeah.
look for somebody who's sitting, I'm not parking,
Well,
but they're sitting there.
They would be parking, right? So
I don't know.
the more general it is, I think the more.
I mean, this covers
Include everything?
no roadside parking.
Yeah, I like
That's
it
pretty clear.
simple, and then, so will you have these rules also in the kiosk area near the mailboxes?
Yeah,
More in-depth explanations of.
Well, every homeowner will get the association document.
They
They
get
have
the
to sign it.
documents, so,
What do they, where they go supposing the family has graduation, where they supposed to put their cars, they're 2 miles out of town.
We have to wait a little bit for public comment, but I will make sure to hold that. We'll put that in the parking lot, but we want to make sure to get back to you. I'm going to make a note, so.
so that's the board's pleasure if they want to revise that sign or not. That's one of the reasons we wanted to come in tonight, just to make sure we got everything to board satisfaction.
I mean, so if you're in front of Market Basket or whatever, it's, I think it says, what does it say, there's no parking, right? It doesn't list all the other things, right?
I know what we're talking about, I just can't quite think of the wording or no standing.
Well, that's why I went for the next town, like I said, there are enforcement.
I know, that sounds wrong, that is.
No loitering.
Yeah, loitering, and then tell them they want
No standing and loitering.
And if I make something up.
No.
It goes, I think airports, no standing, so you can't like sit there and be in the car. You just get like a shop. Most people.
Well, let me know what you guys want me to put on the sign.
While we're in this section, on our page 11D at the bottom, homestead shall conform to the National Building Code,
Yeah,
International Building Code, IBC.
yeah. He had Boca code and I had him change it.
I saw that.
And,
Now it says national, but
So
it's
now we should,
international.
yeah, which section was that in?
I think it's your page 12, but it's D.
611.
Okay, where am I?
Land use. Okay, very bottom.
Section 6D.
Mm-hmm. So it's our page before.
Our page
We're just
11.
talking about the sign. The sign is an F,
Yeah,
up in D.
yeah.
Right down the bottom.
International Building Code, there's an International Residential Code, now it's down to 70, but National Electrical Code, but I think that's covered by,
Okay.
applicable state codes will cover the others.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Same section, letter A. No satellite dish will be permitted unless enclosed or otherwise placed in such a manner, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes, and no laundry or linen shall be placed so as to be in public view. Huh?
That's strange.
You can't like, it seems weird that you go from satellite dishes to laundry lines in the same. Same.
That's 4 is 40. I don't know if that
I don't know if
was.
it's a bad kind of taste, I don't know. It just seems odd, you go from satellite dish,
Say, read it again.
it goes, no satellite dish will be permitted unless enclosed or otherwise placed in such a manner as to be hidden from public view, subject to section 207 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, comma, and no laundry or linen shall be placed as to be in public view.
That is
No
a
clotheslines or similar devices, trash or garbage or bottled gas containers shall be placed, constructed, or maintained unless kept in or placed in such a way as.
I would say that's what's allowed on your lot.
That just seems.
I think it's just
Just a
all
random
aesthetic kind of things.
It just seems really random to go from satellite dishes to, can't hang out my laundry with that. I guess I won't put it on my satellite dish where I live, that's all right.
Good choice.
I just had to ask,
What section was that in again?
6 and.
I think it's just general things that would be on your particular lot.
Right.
I think everything was lumped in together.
I wonder if this satellite dish is dated though, you know, that, I think,
No,
this isn't the, I think this, remember when they were huge?
Right.
Now they're this big, and, you know, a lot of times you can't
It's still pretty
see.
big.
Oh, they're like
They're like this, they catch the
I
side
have one in my
house.
front yard.
Yeah. So is that,
mean, that's-
you can see that from the street?
Well, we carry those same kind of rules on our apartments
Oh,
and
you do?
stuff too,
Okay.
just because, yeah, they can get unsightly and.
Oh, okay. Somebody could put it right on the gable end or something, or?
Maybe, yeah, I mean, and it's just, you know, I mean,
I just wonder the legality of that.
Let them live free or die.
What happens if I don't like whatever our new Metro, it's not MetroCast anymore, but whatever that new company is, or I want DirecTV.
Yeah,
Now I can't have I can't as a consumer.
unless you put it on the back of the house or something.
no, I think it's just a matter of, yeah, just, it's not in the front yard, it's just kind of someplace that's kind of more
Well, I
inconspicuous.
can't put my laundry in.
Well, is it the laundry or the lingerie? Yeah.
I don't.
Does the board have any more
I may.
questions?
I have
Well,
On the declaration,
you know, in general, we can't act on this tonight in good faith because we haven't reviewed it. We have to have time to review this, but I'm getting handed this tonight. Yeah, so to be able to have time to review
Right.
it would not be appropriate.
I have a question on page 20. It is general provision 12. Date at the end. It talks about enforceable by the county. The last sentence, in addition to stipulated and agreed, the town shall enjoy such enforcement rights as would exist in the instance of violation of the town of Tilton zoning ordinance. Is that saying such as when it says instance? Or is it limiting us to
Is
the
that
town of Tilton?
section 9?
Catherine, where are you again?
Our page 20,
Our
at the
page
very
20,
top. So it, for you, it is the general provisions, section 12, probably year 21. Section B, certain obligations of the association to be enforceable by the town of Tilton, is the title.
Okay.
This is the last sentence. Because if it isn't saying such as, I would like it to say ordinances of the town of Tilton, including zoning ordinance.
Especially stipulated and agreed.
So they put zoning and other ordinances, zoning ordinance and other ordinances.
Anything that indicates that ordinances.
Ordinances. So
How do
just
you
take
want-
out zoning and put in an S.
And see where it says town of Tilton zoning ordinance?
Yep,
It should include and other town ordinances, like sound, noise ordinance, all those ordinances. It should include everything, not just zoning.
so maybe town of Tilton ordinances with
Or
an
just
S?
take out the
Just
zoning.
take out the
Yeah.
zoning and
Yeah.
cover all of them.
Well, you'd have to. Well, that's violations, then do a little darker, yeah, but that's pretty much it, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe ordinances and regulations.
Did you get it?
Ordinances and
And
regulations.
regulations.
Violations, do we, yeah.
Ordinances.
I said we won't have time tonight to go through all these, so we'll.
Yeah,
I think we need to go through them.
sure, absolutely.
If the board is set for a minute, we'll go to the public, so we can.
Are you gonna, can we talk about the maintenance plan after a little bit?
Sure. Is that the, number 5
Yes.
stormwater?
Discussion on maintenance plan. Pages aren't numbered, so I guess it is the fourth page in blank methods. You're supposed to refer to the fact sheet prepared by the University of New Hampshire Cooperative Extension entitled Methods for Disposing Non-Native Invasive Plants and Recommended Methods to Dispose of Invasive Plant Species. Which is great, I know the fact sheet, but sometimes those fact sheets disappear because they go on to something else.
So
could
included
we
in
attach
there.
that as like an appendix or addendum to this?
And can we just go back to that real quick, just so I can tell what page that was, what page?
They're not numbered.
They're not numbered.
So, the front, 1, 2, I think it's 3, 4, my 4th page. But it sits at the top all by itself and it's blind underneath, see?
Yeah.
Right here.
Looks like there was gonna be
It's
some.
like 4 pages.
Okay. And it's,
It's right after, invasive species response.
Yeah.
Gravel wetland.
Gravel,
inspection
wetland,
checklist.
inspection
Okay.
checklist, maintenance event.
yeah, I got it.
I think it was something else in the, so you count, I'm going back to your declaration document. I took my notes quickly, there are these papers I got a little jumbled. But under your section 11, my page 19, I think it's your page 20, roadway within the subdivision. So I noticed in the original that I got by computer, there was quite a lengthy paragraph there, and then it was reduced here. So that it says currently, basically, presently the road is private, but may be petitioned by Decker or its assigns to constitute public way within the town of Tilton, New Hampshire. And certainly there are those rights. But we waived certain provisions in our subdivision, which is required for town roads, because these are private roads. And when we had that conversation, the planning board was told they would be private roads. Well, this seems to be reversing now.
No, they're private roads. This just doesn't waive their rights someday in the future when none of us are around to ask for it to be a public road. They'd have to go through the process. Everybody would have to go through to do that.
I thought we granted certain.
You did, and it's a private
Waivers,
road.
and knowing that it was going to be a private road.
Right, so
It
in
is
the
a private
future,
road.
it may never be taken over because of that, for that reason.
Right.
So somehow
Do
we
you
may
think
want,
this is misleading to the people buying the home? For them to think, well, someday we could make this public,
Thank you.
knowing darn well that that's not the case.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe,
You know, if I were a homeowner and I bought that home, you told me someday I could make that public, and you know darn well that provisions were put in not
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
I'd be
That
coming after
certainly wasn't
you.
our intention, but I can see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I'd be coming after you as a homeowner going, this is what you put forth. And
Right.
I don't wanna maintain, I don't wanna put any money towards maintaining that anymore.
Well, what
because
if the
you told me
zoning,
that.
what if, zoning regulations ever changed and it did conform to town standards at some point?
we're gonna make the road narrower.
Well, who knows, I mean,
But I want to, what I was gonna say to the planning board is, if this language is gonna stay this way, then we may wanna think of language on the lines that you just spoke of, so that it is apparent to anyone who comes after us that we made those decisions to waive some of those subdivision requirements based on the fact and the knowledge that this was a private road and would be a private road.
I almost wonder if something like that should
Yeah.
be worded into that.
yeah.
This is a private road and certain conditions were made, or certain, yeah.
So, can I ask,
Okay, we can amend that, I think.
why was
Just
it put in
amend it.
there?
what's that?
Why was it put in? What were you thinking?
So the lawyer that
We
we
didn't
hired.
write this.
I didn't write it, I mean.
We read it, which was
I'm just-
painful enough,
Right.
but.
Okay.
I mean,
Thanks, because we're gonna read it this
Oh,
week.
my word. Well, and I mean, it's just something that, we knew we needed association docs. I didn't know how the heck to write an association document, so I, called our real estate attorney who's done a bunch of subdivisions, and he said, yeah, I can make some association documents, and he created them, we reviewed them, and, what jumped out at us, we made amendments to, and the rest seemed, okay, maybe that's the way they're all written.
And then he went back and forth with the town attorney, and they came to
Right.
an agreement on it, but, this one, the town attorney wasn't involved in the planning board meetings where we discussed the waivers, and they had to do with the private road, and so I think this comes across, for us at the table, as misleading, but not to the attorneys.
Right, because they
So-
weren't here for the discussion.
Right, and what they're trying to say is it's a private road, but if somehow it met the criteria in the future, but I live in a development that the roads have never been taken over by the town, and it's a real source of anger amongst the, residents, that there's rules in it's holding them back from doing that, and if people thought that they could simply just petition next year and get to be a public road, that would cause a lot of discontent. I don't think we don't want that either. Kevin
Yeah,
doesn't
no, that
want
wasn't
to be
my
halfway
intention.
through
I
and
mean, I
people
didn't, yeah.
say they were misled. And you're right, that could come across as misleading, so we can, so this was productive to actually sit down with you guys tonight, because I think that'll help.
And we may have some more things after we go over.
Yes.
So I have one more note on my little page.
Didn't you say that 2 notes ago? That you had one more?
Well, I know, but I kept reading.
It was a page, just one more page.
That's little, you're lucky. There's not much time. D, it talks about plan notes 14, 15, and 16, and those are the ones that have to do with the actual construction process, silt fences, that sort of thing. But, these may be built over a span of time, not all at once. So, 10 years from now, you could be building one.
I hope not,
Hope
but
not,
maybe.
but could be. So, again, I would like to see those notes attached to this as an appendant or addendum, because,
To the association documents.
yep, since they're referred to in here specifically.
They're referred to
Section D, right under the one we were just talking about.
section D?
Yep, certain obligations of the association to be enforceable by the town. Is it
Section
just
11.
understood and agreed that the obligations of the.
Section 12, actually.
Okay, section
Sorry.
12.
Oh, D.
D.
under
There,
12,
right.
yeah. Right
Okay.
D under 12.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's why I couldn't find it.
Your page 20.
So now I'm there.
So see the first
So why
one?
wouldn't we just say what those notes say instead of refer to the notes? Yeah,
You could do that, but it just adds more language. I was saying if you could attach it, somehow get it in there, I'm happy whichever way you do it.
yeah, I
I'd just
think,
like to see it all in one.
I think that makes sense too.
Start and put it at the bottom of the thing if necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, at the moment, does the board have anything else?
Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm back to you.
But I'm concerned that there's no parking on the street, and you have a family have a graduation, birthday party, or even a funeral. They want to gather at the house. Where are the extra cars gonna go? I said, we had, my wife's funeral, we had 14 cars at my house, because we had plenty of room. I was wondering if it's gonna be an overflow parking space, or what?
Well, we went over that during the regular hearing, right? This is just more of a compliance hearing at this point, or?
So cars can't park on the side of the road, so the homeowners are gonna have to figure out how they're gonna get their guests there. I don't know if the final was on there.
No, we got that sign, no roadside parking, so,
When we reduce the width of the road,
yeah.
That's why, and it was, would be safe.
So it'd be up to each homeowner to,
Across the street from my field.
To coordinate that.
I would put up a sign with $50 a car. I think that could pay your taxes. That'd be big. Yeah, so we don't know. Do you have anything today?
No, I just come in to listen.
No. We do have a letter from one of the abutters I would assume that everyone's had an opportunity to read. Does anyone wish to comment on that?
Should come sooner.
I wish they had. A little difficult to backtrack now.
Yeah.
We did have one other thing to discuss with the board tonight, if the board had a few more minutes.
Was there any other discussion on the letters notes? A letter? Yes.
So, and I've been talking to Diary about this too. So, when I went for the zoning variance, there was a footprint established of 1,500 square feet. So that was established, and we agreed to it really before we knew what we were going to be building for homes. And 1,500 square feet seemed to make sense, and seemed to think that we could do everything in that footprint. But once I started talking to the realtors and really got an idea, the demographic of the person that we think is going to be moving in there are probably people downsizing, in which case there's two real things that we need to get in there, which is a garage and a first floor master bedroom. Because, you know, as people age in place, they really don't want to do stairs. So I've been scouring floor plans, and it's really tough to get the footprint of the house and a garage in 1,500 square feet. And when I had agreed to that, I just, you know, it didn't really dawn on me. So I printed off this is exactly what I'm hoping to be able to offer. So I printed these off.
So we realized that this is a zoning board issue, but they're probably going to ask for the planning board's input at some point, and we knew we were going to be here tonight, so Kevin felt like we'd like to have this discussion if we could.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, you know, Monday coaching on, you know, from a Sunday game or whatever, and I don't know if there's anything we can do, but I just want to be able to build a product that people want to buy. And by increasing it by a couple hundred square feet, you know, I think that if I would have had this set of plans at that zoning meeting and I was prepared, I think that, you know, and I can't speak for the zoning board, and don't try, you know, I don't want to say that I am, but I think that if they would have saw these floor plans, they would have said, okay, that makes sense. So, for an example, the manufactured homes at Country Meadows, I'm just going to figure out the square footages on those. So, there's 3 of them that are identical that are 28 by 56, which is 1,568 square feet. But once they have the garage, which is 24 by 24, that brings up the total square footage of the manufactured homes in Country Meadows to 2,144 square feet. And these floor plans that we're looking at doing the footprint of, one of them is 1,760 square feet. The other one's 2,024 square feet, which is the largest one. And then the other one is 1,872 square feet. So they're all under the sizes that are already in Country Meadows, and it's really a product that, you know, that people enjoy. So these exact floor plans were built in Nature's View, which is a subdivision in Laconia, and the average lot size in that subdivision was about 7,000 square feet for the lots, and ours minimum square foot of our lots are all 10,000 square feet minimum. So, you know, if, you know, like I said, I don't know what the process would be, but I just wanted to see if we could ask if there's a way to be able to do that. And maybe it's the zoning board that I need to talk to. I don't know. I just wanted to open it up for discussion because I just really think it's a product that people are going to like. And if if I've got to build something that, you know, with all the bedrooms on the second floor in order to meet that 1,500 square foot price, then, you know, the demographic that we're trying to go after, which is, you know, people want first floor master bedrooms because as they age in place, they just you know, stairs can be difficult sometimes, so I just think that it's a product that works. Because otherwise, you know, I think if you went back to maybe the 90s or the 80s when, you know, the baby boomers were having kids, you know, they were looking for colonials where, you know, it was a garage and a first floor living area and then all the bedrooms on the second floor, you know, 3 bedrooms on the second floor. And that worked for a long time, but, you know, as our population has changed and you know, I'm just, this is really what I think could work. And it would be tough to get those features in 1,500 square feet, so. That's what I had, and that's a lot of mouthful.
And that's what we approved, right?
It is what you approved, and I understand that, and that's why I'm asking if there's a way. Because,
Well, I agree, I think
So
you're
how do we
right.
do that
Well,
without putting up
yeah.
the site plan?
I think the first issue that I think Sear, you know, is going back to the ZBA, there's a sort of a standing principle that you don't get 2 bites of the apple, you'll commonly hear. And essentially, you can't go back to the ZBA seeking a better, you know, trying to go back, you know, it's kind of like going back to your parents, hoping they're in a better mood like a month later. It's not permitted to enter an identical application to the zoning board. So we have that issue. And I think, you know, so if the application had come in requesting, you know, with 1,500 square feet specifically mentioned in the request, then it would maybe say, okay, well, it's a different application to come and ask for 1,800 square feet. But the reality is the application simply said, I want to have 24 units. And the zoning board said, you can, only if they're 1,500 square feet. So that was the product of that hearing. So I see some complications with getting back in front of the ZBA. We can continue to discuss that, see if there's any way that can happen, but I haven't found one yet. If by chance there's a way to go back to the ZBA and get a variance that allows for 1,800 or 1,900 square feet, then my thought is that you would need to have some kind of revision to the site plan approval. So, I think that would be the method, in my mind.
yeah, and I mean, when I did go in front of the zoning board that night, I was just simply asked for 2,400 square feet. And during discussion, they're like,
24 units.
24 units. So it kind of came up just like it was sprung on me. Can you live with 1,500 square feet? And without knowing exactly what we're going to be building for floor plans, it seemed
Sounded reasonable,
okay,
just a
seems
two-story.
reasonable, you know?
Building 1,500 square feet is 3,000 square feet, which is much bigger than Kevin intended to ever build. But it wasn't taking into account the garage, wasn't taking into account trying to do a ranch or a first floor master. So it was kind of like, on the first blush, 1,500 sounded like a lot. But when you look at it again, it's like, it's really tough to make that work.
Because you figure, in my mind, I was thinking 1,500 square feet of living space, but it's footprint, which includes the garage. So I was kind of caught off guard, and you know, it almost, like, I don't want to say pigeonholed, but, you know, kind of in the nerves of the board meeting, not knowing what I was agreeing to, you know?
So
So,
not even living space, Kevin, including space could have been 3,000 square feet.
oh, right, but
1,500
yeah,
square feet of
footprint. I mean,
footprint, yeah, so
Right.
it sounded like way more living space than you were intending
Right,
to do, but, so anyway, that's the
yeah.
quandary, and it'll have to, no matter what we do, as Dari said, it'll have to come back to the board at some point. So we wanted to at least bring you up to speed in case we end up at the zoning board, you'll know what's going on and why we're there and
Right.
what we're trying to accomplish.
So, so,
Back here, and the site plan would be opened up again.
Right.
so, you know, I mean, I guess before I go down that rabbit hole, I mean, does that seem like a reasonable request to this board? I mean, I know we're not voting on it tonight, but,
What, to enlarge it?
yeah, if we
That's not
enlarge
our
it.
purview, that's zoning, that's up to them.
Right, but like.
No, but if we had to open up the site plan review again, you guys would have to look at it, right?
Yeah, is
You
that
do what
what
we
they
want to
need
do.
to do?
And if you go down that rabbit hole, as you say, and they should happen to give you the variance to increase the size, then we would do our job and put the site plan
Yeah.
down.
would it
So
open
do you
up
want
other
us-
issues that would have to take into consideration for that, or?
That we don't know until we get there. I know
Yeah,
that's not the
yeah.
answer you want to hear.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if it's, you know, if it's worth pursuing. I mean, we're, you know, so far into this, it's just, you know, the more I thought about it, it's like, geez, you know, we're so close to having, you know, because it's not about me, it's about what's best for the residents that are gonna live there, what's best for the tax base of the town of Tilton, and when I can take those things into consideration, this makes much more sense than trying to shrink something down to fit into that 1,500 square feet. So it's like, you know, you've got a, for this one example, it's 1,760 square feet. It's only 260 square feet. I mean, that's an area 10 by 26. I mean, that's not much bigger than the size of this table. I mean, it's like two of these tables. Maybe a little bit more than that, but. So, but I started looking at this floor plan, which flows very nicely, and you know, the garage is 20 by 22 in this situation, so, you know, to take out 260 square feet of that, it just wouldn't be a workable garage, and then, you know, you try to start taking some out of the master bedroom, and it's just, you know, you start shrinking all these things, and it's just, makes the floor plan just not work.
If I could just, I think the best efficient use of our time at this point is to focus on how potentially you could get before the ZBA again.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, a substantially different application, you know, it has to be different in some way, and then, you know, you can be before the ZBA again. But to come, you know, right back and with essentially the identical request for 24 units is what I see as something that can't be done based on the two bites at the apple principle.
So would it just be then a new application requesting a different square footage of the residence then, which is different than what we were asking for?
Well,
Because
we
weren't
did
asking
talk
for
about that. I mean, the last
Yeah.
time I talked to you guys about it, I think what we said, I presented what I just said, and the idea was that maybe you guys would talk to your attorney and see what he had to come up with, and I'm all ears to talk to him.
Yeah.
If we can come up with a way that you can legally get before this, and you know, you guys are creative, you have creative folks working for you.
Well, and that's why, I mean, I didn't know if we had gotten to that point, you know, I didn't know if you were still considering a way to just reopen up that case as a, you know, instead of, you know, making it more of a continuation of that hearing that was already done, if that was.
I don't see it,
Yeah.
you know, if again, though, we're always learning.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something I think there may well be a way.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, what if you, I'm just brainstorming here right now, what if you came for a different number of units? That's a substantially different application.
Right.
25.
Yeah.
So you guys can discuss that
Yeah.
outside of this
Yeah,
meeting.
no,
Yeah.
so and I didn't know if it was the right spot to bring it up, I just figured, well, I had you here if I could.
So do you want us to continue you to next month for the review of this, or do you want us to put it on hold while you
I think it's a continuance is what you want to do, is
Yeah.
put you on next month's, or, so we have time to review the paperwork we got tonight?
Okay.
that? And get some.
How does the rest of the board feel about that?
Better off doing that.
So do we have a motion for that?
Make a motion to continue compliance hearing for planning board case 1802 to June 12th.
Let me just look, sorry.
Thank you.
Thursday?
There are already 3 cases, but they should be short. So I would say the 12th should work.
We have 3 cases already?
Yeah, but they're all, I mean, one of them's a boundary line adjustment, one of them's the kettle head continuation.
That'll take a while.
What's that?
That'll take a while.
That one will take a while, and then, what was that?
But this will take a while.
Oh, and, the old Agway building.
Okay, so that'll take a while. But this one,
So those are the cases. June 26th is MD Tractor. That'll obviously that one would reasonably take a long time. But that's the only case on June 26th right now.
So we
Maybe they
have,
can go first.
we have a motion from Eric,
I seconded.
Catherine seconded.
Oh, sorry.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? So we'll see you on June 12th.
Very much. Thank you.
Do you have any correspondence this evening?
I've got a traffic study relating to 80 and 96 Main Street. I've been seeking some clarification on this. Actually, I'll put
80 and 96 Main Street?
East Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Here's another copy. It's I think of interest is the project description. It mentions a 8,000 square foot tire store retail space, a 12,000 square foot store, likely a liquor store, and a 4,000 square foot medical office building. So
Well, that'll be nice.
quite different from what we were thinking.
Which part did you?
So I will continue. I will follow up on that and see if that's indeed where they stand with that right now. We can talk about whether it requires.
Where's 8096?
Across from Lowe's, it's going to be.
I thought we approved that for something else.
That's kind of my point. Yeah,
Yeah, it was-
exactly. So I'll get more information on that. And then this is something. The other thing we got. Al and I got something from some folks. Looks like they want to do a subdivision. They mentioned in a letter they would like to meet with the planning board before they hire a surveyor. So that's why I'm sharing this with you, but I think the most efficient way to handle this is for me to contact them and discuss what the subdivision they want to do would entail. To me, as I look at it, and I'll just pass these around, I can get them back. It looks to me like they would need to do a private road, kind of like what Christine did, in order to do what they want to do.
Oh. Oh, well, okay.
There's frontage issues is the way they present with the way they presented. I think a private road would alleviate.
I don't want to lose all this stuff. Working
It's like that one little bit of road that comes in the city.
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Our subdivision has specific regulations on private roads and length, doesn't it?
Yes. It does.
Have a good evening.
That way, yeah. But I'm wondering, because they cleared all these trees.
Yeah, or they cleared all.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So let Dari just get rid of her and discuss. Want these, Dari, you said?
Oh, yes, thank you. And that's all I got.
Does anybody have any other business?
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Second, wow.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thank you.
It's gotta be behind your house a little.
I don't know.
What day does,
I wasn't crazy about it before.
Okay.
I was
Cool.
going to take it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not gonna go there. I already told people that.
Be good for her, too.
But no.
I don't know.
Christina. That'd be, you know,
Yeah, all right,
she's in
does this
charge.
mean Panera's not coming?
I'm afraid so. I only know that because of this report. I haven't had a chance to follow up with anyone. Oh, sorry. Yep.